Magic has always been a fan favorite among the nerd fandoms, be it card games, games that rely on the imagination, or even the odd demonic summoning. Today we shall take two ancient games, Magic the Gathering and Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, to compare their magic systems against each other. Not only will we be comparing similar spells, but also the crossover spells with each other. We took a good amount of spells with the same name, and a few with similar effects, all to outline which franchise has the better magic. Will Magic the Gathering, one of the most popular card games, come out on top? Or will the grandpa of games, D&D, win? You'll just have to see.
To clear up any misconceptions, let's go over the rules that we shall be following. First, we will compare the D&D spell to a magic card in terms of strength in which they are used. For instance, the spell Firebolt, a cantrip, is a common spell with low level damage, with good scaling, while the Firebolt spell in Magic is dog shit. We will be basing information off 5th edition D&D and the Commander format for Magic. This is to keep things fair, as this is what we are most knowledgeable about. We will also need to go over some basic rules for each of the games, so everyone will have an idea of each Magic system. Starting with Magic the Gathering, we will be mostly talking about two different kinds of spells, sorceries and instants, as they impact the Commander format. While sorceries can only be cast on your turn, instants can be played on anyone's turn as a reaction to someone playing a card. This is important as the Commander format is a 4-player game, playing against each other. A spell strength is also determined based on how much mana it costs to cast. As for each turn of Magic, you're only allowed to play one land. Each land can produce 1 mana for each turn. For example, on turn 1, you can play 1 land and then play 1 mana costing cards. But on turn 2, if you don't have a land to play, you will only be allowed to play one mana costing card.
Now on to D&D. It's a lot more simple. There are only 3 types of spells that matter for this video: cantrips, rituals, and normal spells. Cantrips are usually a weak spell that can be cast an unlimited number of times. As for normal, except under specific conditions, they may require verbal, thematic, and or material components. Thematic simply means hand movements, and the other 2 are self-explanatory. Now, lastly, we move on to the ritual spells. In the simplest term, if the spell can be cast as a ritual, it'll take 10 minutes to cast or more, and won't use a spell slot, and can't be upcast. And moving on to the mechanics revolving around the spells, first off, based off your level and class, you'll be allotted a certain amount of spell slots. For example, if you're a level 4 wizard, you'll have access to 4 level 1 spell slots and 2 level 2 spell slots. And now onto the upcasting. Most spells can be upcasted, which will make the spell stronger in one way or another, but will consume a higher level spell slot. Lastly, action, bonus action, reaction, and movement. Typically, you'll have access to 1 action of each type per turn, similarly to instants in Magic the Gathering. Reaction spells are usually used on other people's turns.
Now, onto the dick measuring contest between Magic the Gathering and D&D. The first spell we'll look at, Wish. Yes, that spell, Wish, is in Magic the Gathering, but it can't be played, because in Commander format, we can't bring cards from outside the game, nor do we have a sideboard, which is where you would normally pull from, meaning this shit sucks. It's technically disqualified, but if you could, you'd be able to bring any card from outside the game onto the battlefield.
On the flip side in D&D, it's up to your DM if it's good or not. It could be amazing, or it could work by genie rule. Then there's the fact that it cripples you for 8 days, and has the chance to permanently remove your ability to cast it again, making it extremely situational, with a huge margin of error. When it works, / is being used within its scope, you can wish for money, certain items, to heal your friends, but for the most part, the limit is your imagination and the depth of how your DM is feeling. When casting this spell, it is better to butter up your DM, lest he bring the might of God against ye. Mixing everything together, it's no competition win for D&D. Magic the Gathering is disqualified by the rules that we set, making it an otherwise interesting matchup a one-sided win for D&D. Now, if the Wish spell was available for Magic the Gathering, the win would most likely go to Magic the Gathering because it has an unparalleled variety and no chance to cripple or backfire on you, making it a free win, making it the end of the round 1 D&D, 0 Magic the Gathering. Now on to Firebolt. In D&D, Firebolt is commonly used as a primary spell for beginning spellcasters that essentially does damage without the use of a spell slot, and passively upgrades depending on your level, doing up to 4d10 damage, but at its base doing 1d10, and being a cantrip, that decent damage. It's nothing to write home about, but it can set things on fire, so it can be good in certain circumstances.
In Magic, Firebolt is hot trash. In Commander format, we can only use 100 cards in our deck with different names. So to put a spell that doesn't do much when other spells do it far better makes no sense. Firebolt only does 2 damage to any target for 1 mana at sorcery speed, meaning you can only play this on your turn. Though it does have flashback, which is instant speed. It costs way too much mana for the damage it does in most situations. So most people just play Lightning Bolt, which is an instant speed and it does more damage. In summary, D&D is the clear winner. As in Magic, most people never play Firebolt. In D&D, it's used in most early sessions. D&D 2, Magic 0. Now, for blue playing Gooners, we have the Counterspell, one of the most enraging spells to ever be cast in either D&D or Magic. For us blue players, Counterspell is one of the most effective ways to stop an opponent from having fun or just trying to progress the game. The spell allows you to make an opponent put a spell they are casting into the graveyard, like a kick to the dick. Simple, but very effective.
Now for Counterspell in D&D. It's also piss easy to understand. As a reaction, you can cast it and try to stop your opponent from using their spells. But there's a few more rules to it. First is that you can cast Counterspell at whatever spell slot you have of 3rd or higher. Second is if you Counterspell, if your spell is higher than your opponent's, you will automatically succeed. And lastly, if your Counterspell is equal to or less than your opponent's spell level, you must roll to see if you can counter them or not, leaving many things up to chance since you typically won't know what level your opponent was casting their spell at. Finally, we have a Magic the Gathering win in the Counterspell department. Not to play down D&D Counterspell, but it's sadly a chance-based spell versus a guaranteed one that has an amazing effect and can be used in more circumstances. Because of that difference, the difference in format and the difference in games, we're ending off in Magic the Gathering at 1 point and D&D at 2. Now it's time to shine, the powerhouse of D&D's spell roster. We have Fireball, a 3rd level spell that does good damage, aka 8d6, hitting everything in a 20-foot radius and needing a dex save to dodge or reduce the damage you would have to take. And it can set certain things on fire. We've often said too much and too often in this video, but if it fits, I guess we have to. If it's simple and it's effective, you won't find many 3rd level slots that will be used more often and are more satisfying than Fireball.
And all the way from Alpha Set in 1993, do we have the most dog shit version of Fireball from any franchise. I say this lightly because if you have infinite mana, you can just take out all your opponent. This spell costs 1 more mana per target you wish to hit, but deals as much damage as you want to equal the amount of mana you spend on it. For example, if you want to target 1 creature and 2 players, you would have to put in a minimum of 5 mana so that X equals 3. Sadly, this would only do 1 stupid damage to one target and still target 3 things. You can do this because you can divide the damage up however you want. If you wanted to deal 1 damage to each of those targets, you have to pay 7 mana. Big shocker incoming with D&D easily winning, right? Unless you're playing with high-level Magic Fireball, it's mostly useless. Even then, you're probably playing way better cards. Saying this, D&D's version of Fireball is far more versatile, while Magic needs a lot of setup. D&D 3, Magic 1. Now on to an interesting spell, True Polymorph. For Magic's version, it's very versatile. Now you can turn one of your garbage creatures or artifacts into a copy of a different creature or artifact on the field. The only issue is it costs 6 mana, but it can be played at instant speed.
With D&D, True Polymorph is a spell with a lot of potential and can be used in many ways, but it's almost always used in one or two ways. True Polymorph allows you to turn yourself or someone else into a creature or object, with some rules attached. If casted against an unwilling person, they can try to fight back against it with a roll. Another rule is you can only turn to specific types of objects or creatures. For turning into creatures, you or the target's level/challenge rating must be equal to or lower than the creature that you'll turn into. You'll also lose any access to your gear as it melds into your body, and you get the abilities of the creature while keeping your personality. And for objects, you can't turn into anything above your size class, and the object will not be able to be above challenge rating 9. Hold on, we're almost done. It's also a concentration spell, so the spell will end on the target if you do not keep it going, and will automatically end if the target goes to 0 HP. Now, in its otherwise new form, if you hold the spell for 1 hour, it also becomes permanent unless dispelled. So as you can see, Magic the Gathering has the edge when it comes to the spell. It has a very good effect. It's pretty expensive, but it's easy to use and can quite easily be used to win the game. Don't get me wrong, True Polymorph in D&D is good, but there's so many extra rules and extra tidbits, it's a bit hard to understand, and that makes it a little less useful. Not even mentioning that in D&D, True Polymorph can be used once. In Magic the Gathering, it can be copied very easily for more shenanigans. D&D 3, Magic the Gathering 2. Animate Dead, a necromancer's bread and butter, but with some notable drawbacks. Basically, you can resurrect a dead body, be it bones, a corpse with a bit of meat on it. They have to obey you for 1 day at a time. And as a bonus action, you can control their movement up to 60 feet. Sadly, you must recast this spell each day to keep control over your corpses. And if you don't, you will no longer have control over them and they'll most likely eat you alive. Now, if you upscale this spell, you can have a small army. But do be warned there, zombies and skellies aren't the toughest, or the strongest, or the smartest. So your dreams of taking over the world will die with you if you overly rely on this spell.
While in Magic is one of the most basis of reanimator decks. Animate Dead looks very complicated, but it's actually very simple. When cast, you target a creature from any graveyard, and that creature comes back to the battlefield under your control with -1 to their power, or their attacking stat. Animate Dead card also is attached to this creature. Now, either the creature or the Animate Dead card is destroyed, they both go to the graveyard. Now, this seems mediocre, but this card is very strong, as it was played back in the day in some of the most all-busting 2-turn combos. For example, turn 1, you do nothing, so you have to discard Jin Kataxis, or Augur, for instance, into your graveyard, because you have 7 cards plus the 1 from your draw at the beginning of each turn, and you only have a max hand size of 7. So at the end of turn, you have to discard it. Turn 2, you play 1 land for turn, then you cast Dark Ritual. This gains you 3 black mana. Then you cast Animate Dead on Jin Kataxis and watch your opponents cry, as they'll no longer have cards in their hand to play the game, because they're going to have to discard all of them at the end of each of their turns. This is very good in normal Magic decks as well, because you can just get any creature during any of your turns from the graveyard. Well, we wish that Anime Dead in D&D was good, it's just not in comparison to Magic. While D&D has the cool factor of necromancy, it's just not compared to, as power event Magic is far better. D&D 3, Magic 3. Finally, the tiebreaker between D&D and Magic the Gathering. We have the most powerful spell known to man. The spell known as Compelled Duel. Also known as the Shit Talker spell. You call someone a pussy and they gotta fight you. In Magic, the spell is a sorcery, so you can only cast it on your turn. But this matters not, as it buffs your creature and forces your opponent's creature to block. This is important because Magic, when player 1 attacks player 2, it's usually player 2's decision, whether they block or not. Taking away your opponent's decision is the best kind of magic. Lastly, it's a very cheap spell, so it only costs 2 mana.
Now for D&D's side of things. Compelled Duel is a level 1 concentration paladin spell that has a bonus action casting time, forcing your opponent to make a wisdom saving throw, and if they fail, they cannot move more than 30 feet away from you. And, without another save, they'll have disadvantage attacking anyone but you. But it's not a world-ending spell. It can be used to good effect, working as a taunt skill, taking aggro, preventing enemies from running away, and even in the worst case where it does fail or you lose concentration, it's only a bonus action. So no harm, no foul. The only downside is losing out on a smite for this turn. But that's it. Now keep in mind, this does not completely restrict your opponent from running or attacking others, but it does limit their options, which is always nice. Wrapping this up, D&D 4, Magic the Gathering 3. Comparing two different Magic systems from two vastly different platforms and settings with a million different differences in rules and ways abilities work. But when you look at it, overall, at least with this set of spells, D&D wins. This was a very fun video to make. We do have more spells and more abilities that we can compare, but we didn't want to make this video too long unless a lot of people liked it and a few subscribed. So make sure you let us know if you want more and have any ideas of your own. We'd love to hear.